Hello and welcome. For the last couple of weeks I've been talking about bone health and I want to talk more about that this week. So my name is Sam, I'm a nutritional therapist and my aim is to help women get through those mid-years, the menopause, perimenopause, into older age as easily as they can, as painlessly, and so they can really enjoy their older years unimpeded. I think many women going through this stage understand and appreciate how challenging it can be. So one of the areas, as I've said last week, one of the areas we don't often... I've got a dog here, by the way. I'm stroking my dog. If you think she's doing something, I am stroking my little dog. This is Molly. Yes, as I mentioned previously, when it comes to bone health, we're not always aware how we're doing until or unless we have a fall, break a bone, end up having a DEXA scan, and then we get a diagnosis of either osteopenia or osteoporosis. Osteopenia being the forerunner of osteoporosis, which is the sort of brittle bones. And it is life-changing if you have a diagnosis of that, or if you have a fracture, it can be life-changing. Luna's growling at something, but I don't know what. So we've got Luna and Molly here today, and they are predictable in as much that if anybody drives past, we're up a very short track, very few, it's not through road at all. And anytime anybody comes up here, it's exciting. We don't get visitors, so they get really excited and they start barking. So here's Luna. Molly, come on, Boo-boo, come here. So I'm afraid we might have a bit of barking in between because they're a little bit excited today. No, don't you start. No. We've had actually a few really bad days weather-wise, so the dogs really haven't had a jolly good run. We've just been out for one and they've had a good enough run, but quite frankly we are restricted somewhat by a few floods and muddy pathways. But anyway, back to bone health. So last week I spoke about nutrition and how what we could eat could support bone remodelling. So our bones break down and rebuild throughout our lives, but we find as we get older there's a tendency for them to break down more than they rebuild. And so it's important that we encourage that. So diet supports bone remodelling. But so too does exercise, and that's where I want to focus today. So I've been looking at some of the studies and research that's out there in relation to exercise and bone health, and there's a certain limitation, if I'm honest. So this is not the be-all and end-all, but this is what has been found that's, I think, very useful to date anyway. So there were two studies that were very closely linked with the type of exercise they did, and it is weight-bearing exercise that they have found to be the most beneficial. And I say most, that there's more to it, so I will come to that. So in both studies they did 3 exercises with a bar with weights on either end. It has a name, can't remember what it's called. I actually have a qualification as a gym instructor. I did that over 20 years ago. I've never used it. And so I am a layman, even though I did that course. That was when I investigated nutrition first, and I added that on to that first course I did on nutrition. But anyway, they both did the same 3 weightlifting exercises. It was slightly different. First one was with a control group. The second one had a group doing Pilates, and they wanted to compare the results. So the first exercise was doing a deadlift. That's when you lift the weight from the ground and you stand up basically, and still holding it probably around mid-thigh, I would say it comes to. So they did deadlifts, 5 repeats of a deadlift with a weight they could manage, and they increased the weights over a period of time. And the first study was, I think, 8 months that they did it over. So of course you get used to it and you increase the weight. So they did it 5 repeats, and the second exercise was holding the weight across the back of the shoulders and then squatting and standing up again. So you've got this extra weight on your body that's really testing the muscles and the bones. It's putting extra pressure on it, sort of impact when you're lifting it, stretching at them, and then also pushing down on you as you're squatting as well. The final exercise was a push-up with the weights. So pushing up as much as they could above the head. And again, 5 repeats. Now, both the studies varied a little bit. The first one was they recommended 30 minutes twice a week. The second study said 40 minutes twice a week. And so with the second study, they did 5 sets of those 5 repeats. So what that means is they did the 5 deadlifts, 5 squats, 5 push-ups, then they did them again 5 times. So they both of those groups did those exercises. Now what they found was with the control group, they lost bone density throughout this period of time. There was no improvement, there was bone loss, bone density loss. Whereas with those doing the weights, they found an increase in bone density. It was only small, but it was still significant. With the second study, which was a slightly longer period, they checked this group against those who were doing Pilates. Now, the exactly. Sorry about this. The Pilates group didn't show any increase in bone density, but there was no loss. So that's important to keep in mind. There was no loss in that period of time. But those who were doing the weights, again, there was an increase in their bone density. So it shows, particularly the spine, in both those studies, the spine, because that's where most of the weight was being pushed and pulled, was from the spine. The hip, it wasn't quite as significant, but still an increase. But different exercises will probably test different areas of the body. So it's very clear that stressing the bones and the muscles by having this extra weight, whether we are pushing or pulling, has a definite benefit to our bone density. I can't recall whether I said this at the beginning because I had to cut the video part way because of barking. But what we want to look for is this bone sort of stressing the bones and the muscles and really testing them, but also we want good balance, we want agility, we want strength. So with the strength we can get with weights, but with Pilates and yoga we can get good balance and agility, flexibility, and that's important. If you drop something on the floor, you want the flexibility to be able to bend down to pick it back up. You want the good balance to do that too. So I see exercises like Pilates and yoga being incredibly important alongside weight-bearing exercise to really help support our bones and reduce the fear of falling, or the risk of falling, I should say. Also, another exercise both these studies did was to really get some impact on the bones. So people would do pull-ups and then drop, or they'd jump, like skipping, jumping, feet together, and that sort of impact, or even just heels down, a bit of impact also sends vibrations up through the bone, which helps with triggering the remodelling. So basically being physical in some way where we are testing all areas of our body, bending, stretching, lifting, pushing, jumping, seems to be really beneficial when it comes to encouraging bone remodelling. And then alongside with a good diet where we get the right nutrients so the body can do that, we are really setting up this good environment for our bodies to do its best. Now, just want to say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm a nutritional therapist. And if you've already had a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis, you definitely need to speak to a professional before taking on any exercise, a physiotherapist or a personal trainer who knows what they're doing in this area, because there is a risk already for you and you don't want to lift a weight that could mean it's too stressful on your bones and you get a break. It can happen. And so for everybody actually starting out, I still haven't been to the gym yet. I do quite a lot of physical work on a sort of daily basis. But I don't know whether I'm getting all the stresses and tests and impact that I really require. So I still need to go to a gym myself. And although I have this ancient qualification, I want to get a personal trainer, and I want a personal trainer to help me until I absolutely know what I am doing. And then it's over time I can increase weight little by little to just keep everything being tested. Muscles get used to exercises and you don't get improvements. So you need to keep testing. And it might be not just the weight, it might be the speed. So slow is also very good. It really, if you've ever done Tai Chi, which is again great for balance and muscles actually, when you're moving very slowly, you have to control the movements and how you lift your foot off the ground. It's worth considering as well. So yes, please get professional guidance before you do any exercise, and as I say, particularly if you already have a diagnosis of brittle bones to some extent. So I just want to have a look at my notes, see what else there was, because this is just the studies I had a little look at. There's an area, I haven't got it booked yet, there's an area I want to share with you over the forthcoming weeks, and I may not be able to do it as a small series as I'd hoped. I might have to have a break depending on what I can arrange, and I don't want to say too much at this stage. I want to see what I can do. Who's that then? I don't know. Right, they're both in the front room barking now at something. I do want to talk about medication, supplementation and testing as well. As I say, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the ins and outs from that perspective. But I just want to give an overview so that you know enough or have enough info to be able to question things relevantly. I think that's really important. I think so often, historically, I know in my family, medications have been prescribed and taken without question. And I think it's really good to know, what is this doing? How long should I take this for? Are there any risks for taking it longer than a certain period? What are those risks? I'm also taking A, B, and C. Could I do it with with this, that, and the other? I think those are really important questions that should be asked. And with supplementation, those of you who may have followed me before know I'm very, very cautious about mentioning supplements on videos because it's very individual. And these are working compounds in the body that can actually impact not only how your body works, but also can impede medication that could be vital. So I do want to talk about those in a sort of general way coming up, and really to give people enough information to know where to start with asking questions, because I don't know it all, but I want to share what I have gleaned over the years and those things that I'll be finding out more about over the next few weeks as well. So yes, we want to load our bones, we want to stress our bones and muscles, we want to have agility, we want to have good balance, we want to have good strength, and there are numerous exercises that can help us, but weight-bearing exercises are really important here. Oh, I knew that was coming. Oh, thank you very much for joining me this week. I hope you will join me again soon. And from the dogs to myself, goodbye.